highlight video.
You are door, and you're here in my curtain. Ooh, we're live.
I didn't realize that we were going to be live when that started.
Sorry.
And so Mike looks over, and my
live?
speakers just have all four of us making that mistake together, blaring because I got Sapphire's stream up. Oh my goodness.
I didn't know we were live.
Sorry.
We're live.
Literally like just now. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. So this is how tonight's going to go a little bit. First, we're going to talk a little bit about how Snarled began, the origin story of the channel, because a lot of people truly do not know. And I think that, that's a good place to start, just like where it all began. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what happened in 2018, because stuff happened. We didn't talk about it. But now we are. So if you guys have questions throughout the stream, just drop them into the chat and we'll hopefully, remember and get to him. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what we've learned from our experience working at Snarled, and then a little bit about what we're up to now. And then at the very end, we're going to take more questions from the chat, but feel free to send in your questions as we go. So you guys all good with that?
Yeah.
Sweet.
All good.
So on to the Snarled origin story. I feel like, Rachel, you can take the reins on this one.
Sure. So very long story short, a company approached me and asked if I could help them create a YouTube channel. And I said, sure, what do you want it to be about? And they said, anything you want. And I said, it's going to be about bitches. And they said, okay, cool. So I created,
Thanks.
basically it was, I didn't create the name. I didn't create the name actually. I just knew that I wanted it to be a platform for female creators, and I didn't know anything beyond that. And Snarled was actually, the name was an autocorrect on a group chat with me and the like investing team. And we were like,
I didn't know this
Cool.
story.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I think I did maybe, but
it was a Jason, it was a autocorrect. And we were like,
what was it supposed to be?
it wasn't supposed to
remember?
be anything. We were just like throwing around names and I couldn't even tell you what they were. Like, I don't know. I know it was all bad. But yeah, so we were just throwing around names. But anyway, so they were like, just do whatever. And I, until that point, had been working in representation for 2 years. And then I moved on to international sales and acquisitions. So I knew a little bit about talent, and I knew a little bit about licensing and acquisitions, which was imperative to start this job, which I'm kind of now just realizing, like, oh, that was a good hire. They did a good job.
Yeah.
They did that, and then I just kind of started looking for people, and I found Beth because I posted in a Facebook group. And Beth was like, I do this. And then I looked into her page and I was like, oh my God, like you could do this. This is channel. And Sapphire and I met we were at like a hosting, like how to be a host.
It was an orientation for a network for people who want to be hosts. And then me and Rachel both are like the only two people who were like, fuck this.
Yeah. And then it turns out Sapphire ended up being a dope artist. And so really y'all shaped the channel. Like, the channel was nothing. And then I found people that I really dug and I appreciated what they were creating, and they didn't know what they were doing. And so they were like, sure, well, let's invest in art on YouTube. And I was like, cool. What? Okay.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So that's how it started. And we just started making videos from our homes respectively. And I think the first series was Ask Us We're Drunk with
Which
me.
made it.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Video. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
I loved that show.
It was
Me
fun.
too.
I really loved it.
We shot the pilot for it to try to like sell it as a show, basically.
That's another thing that's really funny about this space. Like, when you make YouTube videos for a company, if you're at home making a YouTube video, you could do whatever you want and then just post it on the internet. It's like, hey, do people like this? But when you do it for a company, they want a pilot. So you first you pitch an idea to them, and then they say yes or no to the idea or change it, and then you have to film a whole ass video for like no money.
No money. Yeah.
No money.
They're so
And they're
ready
like,
to
is this
do
good
it
enough?
now.
And they'll say yes or no, and then they might have notes, or they'll have you do another one based on like a revamp, and then you can have a show. Like it takes so long, and then they pay you like 2 quarters.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing too. I was so young that I didn't know that this. I thought it was such a cool opportunity, and it was.
And it was.
Mhm, mhm.
I truly did think, I really was naive in thinking that like, oh, people are going to be cool with this because it's a cool opportunity and we're paying you something, and that's dope. You know, that's more than nothing.
Mhm.
And because it was just so mom and pop, like when it started, it was me and 2 40-year-olds in an office. So yeah. And they were just like looking at me like, what are you going to make? And I was like, oh,
need. Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Real quick, I don't think we mentioned how Megan joined the channel.
Right.
Oh, but that's yes. And then Beth was like, I got this dope bitch, and I was like, you're right, she's dope.
Yeah.
And then yes, and it was that easy. Like
it was
as soon as I saw your stuff.
Because she started commenting on YouTube videos that I was posting to be like, hey, we do the same thing, check me out. And I was like, okay. And so I looked her up, and she was fucking rad. And I think I pitched her to you, Rachel, to say like, hey, I found somebody who's like me but better.
No,
that's exactly what you said. Actually, that's like almost verbatim what you said.
So nice. Yeah,
and
well,
I was
like,
impossible.
Yeah, and Beth
I
and
understand now, because I'll go into like later on when we talk about the positive effects that Snarled had on us. I understand now why that sentence was shitty, but that is what I said at the time.
Sorry, Megan, were you
yeah.
going to say something?
Oh, no, I was just adding on and saying that Beth and I connected probably a year before Snarled happened, because we were just doing bullshit vlogs for fun. And, we were both in motion graphics. And then I started experimenting with face paint. So that's the whole origin of like why I even pitched a face painting show and had to do it satirically, because I was not a professional. And, but I
mean, you got paid for it. So technically you were.
I know.
Yeah.
I guess you're right. That qualifies me as being a professional.
Yeah, but you have to have a degree in face paint to be a professional. Like art is a funny.
Yeah, it is.
Funny track to go down.
Beauty world is scary.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
That's what I think is so cool about the way that we all found each other. It's just like very organic. Like we were all just like doing things that we liked doing, and then we found each other because of that. And I think that is probably the thing that one of the biggest things that I learned from this experience is that just because you are given an opportunity to be paid to do something that you truly enjoy doesn't mean that you can sacrifice other things like pay or how you're treated, or like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure we all feel the same way, but yeah. So was there anything else about the origin of the channel that you wanted to mention?
No.
That's pretty much it. All right, cool. So we talked about how we met each other. Oh, so I thought it would be really sweet if we shared some of our favorite memories from working together. I don't know if anyone wants to start.
VidCon for me was like so special. Our VidCon together was so special, and like, because we were working so hard, and at that point we kind of knew that it was, like at the point of VidCon we knew that we were at the point we went to VidCon, we knew that we were working harder than we were being paid for, which I think is very fair to say. I think that's fair, because I think that's fair of any sort of like creating for a company sort of deal. But so that at that point, tangibly seeing the people that we were affecting was so special, because we were speaking to younger girls, and like that means something to me, so, and to be there with y'all and like share that with y'all and not feel like an outsider, feel so out of place, and in a place where I do now, and I probably would have without you, is like,
Yeah. I mean, I came across a random gaming video I made with Beth and Rachel or that like you guys were making it, and then I came over. I forget if I was staying with you, Beth, in LA that week.
I think you were staying with me. Yeah,
I might have been, but like that was a blast because I had no idea that, I don't know, just how that video was going to turn out, and that was, and then since I was making all of my own, I think that was maybe the first one that I was in that wasn't done by me too.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. Well, I also did. No, I did a few with you as well.
It's hard to remember because it was years and years ago.
Yeah.
But I have so many little like slideshow flashback memories of just like going to the Snarled office and sitting down and eating donuts with Rachel and the rest of the team, and Olivia and a bunch of people, and just like coming up with ideas that never went anywhere. It was just this kind of stupid, fun think tank.
Yeah, energy was just like, we can make that happen.
Yeah, that's
what we did make happen.
About working for a company that did have the weight of having employees behind it, where if you had an idea, pitch it. Let's see if it'll stick. And it was the first time that I was challenged to think about projects that were beyond the scope of what I was able to achieve. And I regret that I never really took advantage of that. If I could do it over again, I think I would. And try to utilize it for stuff like that. But like what came from knowing you guys through Snarled, like going over to Sapphire's place and having sing-along live streams. So fun. Megan coming to stay from Montana, and my husband and her boyfriend and I just like hung out in a hot tub until 3 a.m, drunk one night.
Very drunk.
Every birthday party that Rachel's held has been just a roller coaster of who's going to show up to this because she knows so many people. The fact that you invited Drew Morstan to my wedding is so wonderful. Monson, yeah. My toehold.
Drew Morrison?
I said the wrong thing. I'm sorry.
But it was close enough, and I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
But I thought that would be a cute wedding date.
I loved it. I was like, oh, what a delight. What an absolute delight. Yeah, it's all three of you have enriched my life in ways that I wouldn't be rich if it wasn't for Snarled connecting us.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel the same.
One heart, 1,000 sucks is I'm glad you all became friends. And we are all glad too.
And what's funny about that is that when we were all making content for Snarled, it was suggested that all of us feel like we were in the same studio working together and making things. Like it was almost, I don't want to go as far as to say like a forced friendship, but there was definitely pressure to be like, we all know and love each other and spend time together all the time, even though that wasn't true. It wasn't until after Snarled kind of ended that we became close friends.
Because we had time. Because we were working so hard.
That's
all the other
true.
Yeah.
And actually, that reminds me of another point I wanted to make. I feel like a lot of people who watch Snarled and watch YouTube in general, they don't understand that a lot of channels are not necessarily run by individual people or friends just hanging out. Like
can you believe it? But Troom Troom is not just those 4 women.
I don't know what that is. I don't consume YouTube
about it.
But yeah, so like I feel like when like Snarled was a company that it's a channel that was owned by a company, but they really didn't want that to ever come across.
Be true.
Right. And so they did a really good job. Yeah. They did a good job of making people think that we were just a bunch of friends who hung out. And, Snarled wasn't the only channel that does that. I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing.
It's just the nature of a collective channel is presenting a united force. And I think that whereas like at Smosh, like, they've had time to develop their friendships. They are true friendships. Yeah. And they come into the office every day and they work. So, they did before quarantine. And so, they did have the opportunity to have that, but unfortunately we just didn't, like Snarl just didn't have the facilities to house everybody. Like we couldn't, I don't know. It definitely wanted to be that vibe, but I also, I was like the buffer between the corporate and the talent, and I was also talent, and so like, always a weird.
We wanted to be Bon Appetit, but we didn't have the test kitchen.
Or Condé Nast.
Condé Nast is like fucking huge. Wait, actually, no, Rachel. I don't know if you mentioned it earlier when you're talking about the origin of Snarled, but like I don't know if a lot of people knew that you weren't just talent for Dark 5. You were also doing like
I don't think so. And that was
do you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, no, it was very intentional that was never, and at first I was okay with it, and now obviously I'm like, that sucks. Like, you know, I didn't get credited on anything, even though I did everything, you know, like I obviously 100, I would say 98% of like Snarled success I accredit to the creators, but the other 2% is me facilitating the creators. And that's not just me. Like, we had amazing people who worked there, who worked in data, and there's people who worked in like uploading, and like we had a really great team, but I was in charge of that. Like, it just became too much. And then at a certain point, they wanted me to take a step back from that and wanted me to just be Dark 5, like just be the host of Dark 5 and just pivot to kind of being like a brand ambassador for Snarled. And I've never been comfortable with that. Like, as you guys know, I am a manager. Like, I don't do well if I'm not working, and also feel like I have a little bit of control over what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And in Dark 5, I just didn't have, like, you know, Andrew, our editor, was the best. And so luckily,
he's fantastic.
He's the best. And so like I didn't have to worry. And Xena, you know, the absolute best. I just didn't have to worry about the quality of editing, but I did have to worry about the channel. And like it's so crazy. Like, I shit you not, y'all. Like, this is insane. Having the knowledge that I have now over monetized platforms and data and analytics in general, when it comes to not just YouTube, but all like Facebook and all platforms that I've gotten from my experience since Snarled, that like if I could go back in time, I would have done this all differently. Like, there's so much to
remember you were what, 22?
I was very young. Yeah, I was very young.
You were at the age to make mistakes.
Yeah, I just wish the mistakes were not at the expense of a lot of my friends' art, you know?
But that leads into just us accepting the jobs, though, too.
Yeah.
You know, and that is
to a certain degree.
But, well, I guess for me, like, I just felt like I didn't, you know, I feel like this was what I had to do. And like, now in hindsight, it's like, there's a lot of problematic stuff. And we were definitely like, I don't want to say the wrong thing.
No, you're
good.
I
don't want to say the wrong thing. But I just mean, like, because I'm not trying to say that we were taken advantage of, but I want to say that, like, because like our skills were professional already, but I wasn't a famous YouTuber yet. And Beth wasn't a famous, or like, you know, nobody was famous. And so it was kind of this, like, to me, I felt like this was an opportunity and I would eventually make more money, right? Because that's like kind of how the media companies work. And then selling my soul to my best ideas or whatever. But like, I did want, before we get back into that, the crediting thing always bothered me, because when I worked at Sideshow, we credited every single video. And like at the end of the video was like all the names of the writers, the producers, the DP, you know, and it was just a green screen shoot. But, you know,
and for those who don't know, Megan worked for Hank Green's company, Sideshow, did motion graphics for years and years with them. So it has like a lot of experience in a pipeline in a company that is structured kind of similarly to Snarled, but about very different content. Yes, about educational science content. And so that was like really great information to have, but I felt like it was hard to implement that into Snarled, because it was like, no, we just do the video. But it's like Xena and Andrew and all these people worked on them.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, and that's unfortunate. And the thing is that like, it's not like anybody didn't know what was happening. It's not like the deal points weren't, we were just too young. Like the only thing I would change is that I would negotiate a better deal. Like, that's the only thing I would change, is that I would retain some some rights, or like maybe some residual rights from like them selling Dark 5 to Amazon,
Yeah.
Mhm.
All of our
I
shows
wasn't
are
even
on
told.
Amazon.
All of our shows are on Amazon. And
No
like
one even told me that Red Art was on Amazon. And I was Googling shit and I found my face on Amazon Prime and I was like,
No, they didn't tell anyone about that. Yeah. I forget how I found out too.
So, what we're talking about do we want to talk about numbers or no?
I feel like we can talk like vaguely. I feel like, it wouldn't be, I don't know.
What type of numbers?
Wait,
like how much we were paid?
Basically per video.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like
it's different, right?
It's all different. Okay, we'll talk in that frame of reference, right? So, my background, I worked in the advertising industry for 2.5 years before I went freelance, and I was picking up ad jobs. I'm an animator, an illustrator, and talent. I'm a host. So I know from my experience working in the arts world that different projects and different skill sets earn different amounts of money. So if I sell an illustration, that is a considerably lower amount than if I was to animate something for someone. People pay much higher rates for animation and motion graphics specifically. So when I started making video content for Snarled, I was drawing something, so I was illustrating, and in my brain, I'm like, okay, well, that's going to be on the lower end because my experience has told me that. But I'm also, writing the whole thing, performing in the whole thing. I was one of the people who was editing the whole project. Like all of the rad arts and all of the rad arts were from inception all the way to finish me and only me. And that was the same with both Sapphire and Megan's shows as well. And so I remember asking 10 times the amount that I was offered initially. And
good for you, because you knew to do that. I had no experience in this realm, so I had no idea what a normal rate would be.
I asked 10 times the amount that I ultimately was offered. I ended up accepting the offer because I was weighing the value of like having a company and a big name put me out there, and it was worth it in the long run. Because some of my videos got millions of views. Some of my videos were used as advertisements for Snarled, so people would see me and be like, "Oh, I know you from a YouTube ad," and that was a lot of momentum. That at the time I was worth taking the cut. But I worked with Snarled for about 2 years, and over time, over like 5 months, 6 months at a time, I would ask for more money, and it would go up and up and up. Until it was at a more reasonable place. It went from being 10% of the initial asking price to 75% of the initial asking price. So it never ever got to the actual number that I at least deserved. But I was weighing the value of that. And like you said earlier, Rachel, that VidCon experience, being able to go to VidCon, that redirected the path that I was going down in my life.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I actually never got paid for Dark 5.
Really?
Never. Yeah. No.
Like it was just included in your salary?
Well, but it wasn't reflected in my salary. Like it was,
right.
It's not like my salary changed through the continuation of Dark 5 or through the beginning of Dark 5. But the thing is, for me, in hindsight, it's messed up. But at the time, that was my channel. Like that was everything. And I would do anything to help it succeed. And we needed content. We needed this kind of like edutainment content. And I knew that I could speak to like a blank space in the market of these like little freak girls like me. And so I was like, I know I can do this. Like, I can just make I can make a video per week. That's okay. And we never had managers. We never had like anybody to actually balance out time. So I didn't really know how long a Dark 5 would take me because I do all the research and then I would write the script and then I would shoot for about 4 hours and then they would cut that down. And then the 4 hours turned into 90 minutes, thank God. But like, it was just a lot, but I just didn't think about it because it was like, we have to have content. Like, we don't have any money to pay more people. So,
and that's what was interesting is I think like, if they would have just prioritized a few of us, like rather they threw out a big net. Right. And And I feel like that's how they could, they had to pay a lower amount because like they were employing more people. And if there was maybe less of us, then like we all could have been making a more reasonable amount for our efforts. But it was like
we just didn't know what was going to work. We didn't know what was going to work. And the business of YouTube, if you don't already have a niche, like it's just so fucked because you try to read data, you try to understand trend, but it's YouTube. Like, who knows what works? Like,
who knows anything?
5 minutes, and then you're gonna base a business off that? No, like, it was not easy.
Yeah. Well, someone in the chat has answered. Wait. Why did you guys ultimately leave Snarled, or is it something y'all don't want to talk about, which is valid? I'm just curious. Great question for this. Yeah, I don't know.
I was the first one who left. Was I or Megan?
You were.
I was.
Yeah.
All right. So I was work for hire. So I was contractually obligated to make X amount of videos for Snarled by X date. And so I would get like a contract that said 3 videos, 5 videos, 10 videos, and it would change over time. And one of my contracts ended. The last one that I did was a Santa Claus video for Christmas. And it was like the only sponsored Snarled video I ever did. There was like a clothing sponsorship. And so they were like, hey, you can have a couple clothes. And I was like, cool, I guess I'll just do a lookbook. And so I'm showing off leggings. The last one I ever do, I'm just like, you like my leggings? You can get some too. And then fired.
And she's gone.
But she didn't sell enough leggings. That's why.
Thank you. So what happened with me, and everybody's story is a little bit different. What happened with me was we ghosted each other. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue making Snarled videos because the time commitment and the amount of money I was being paid just wasn't really adding up. And then like there was conversation about the company that felt a little bit weird, and I was like, maybe now was the time. And so I never emailed them to ask if they wanted more videos, but then they never emailed me to ask if I wanted to make any more videos. And so we stayed in this kind of like quiet piece of what the fuck for a long time until Rachel ended her relationship with Snarled. Because that's when I was like, oh, okay, I'm definitely not making any more videos with that company.
Right. Well, do you want to talk about the involuntary exit?
Yeah, sure. That was one second of my whole life.
Hi, Megan.
Megan's like, sorry. I can't go through it again.
No, I'm back.
Yeah, that was really awful. And it was shitty because we didn't have any, like, we knew that things weren't great fiscally. Like, we knew that we couldn't keep doing what we were doing the way that we were doing it, but we thought that we had figured it out, or at least I did.
3 channels, right?
Told, 3 channels. Yeah, Slaytrix, Hissy Fit, and Snarled. And they were the first 2 to go, obviously, but at the last part of it, like they told me, they pulled me into their office and they told me that Friday was everybody's last day. And they meant like everybody, like every single person at the company. And I was like, wait, everybody? And they were like, well, everybody but Sapphire. And I was like, got it.
So awkward.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was an awful thing to do. But yeah, so they said Friday is everybody's last day, and we're going to tell everybody at lunch today. And I was like,
Ko says this is some machinima level bullshit. Wasn't this around the same time?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I mean, Machinima had these types of layoffs literally like every year.
Yeah, they've had like these massive layoffs every year. But so they basically, I was like, you have to tell everyone now. I can't go out. There's 20 of us. Like, what are you going to do? Make me go out here and exist? Like, what the fuck? So they came out and everyone was crying and they're just like, we can't do this anymore. But the thing is that they didn't say that. They said, right now we have to halt production on everything except for Something Scary. And I kind of don't remember anything else. It was a lot of just people quietly packing up. And I had to tell the creators, which was shit, or not tell the creators in Beth's situation.
You didn't tell me. We talked that day. No, I got a call from Gail.
Oh, she probably told me not to then.
Yeah, I think she wanted to tell me directly.
Megan told me.
Did I?
Yeah, I got the news from Megan, and I was like, "Oh well, I guess I'll never email them again then."
Yeah.
It was honestly with so much of a weight off my shoulder because I was like, "Should I fucking tell them that I don't want to make videos anymore? I'm scared."
No, you're good. You're good, homie.
I lucked out. I totally lucked out.
But like, that's the thing, is that it was the worst. It was just the worst feeling. Like, and it was also they kept saying like, "You'll be back. Like, give me a month. You'll be back in 2 weeks. You'll be back." Like, and I was back in a way. Like, they had me do the podcast, but they didn't actually want me to do the podcast. I don't know about all that, but but yeah, it didn't feel real. And I think for like a good while, I just sulked, but I'm not a good sulker. And so I got a new job real quick. But I do want to point something out. Somebody said, don't work for companies. They're roaches to your mental health. And here's the thing. I agree with you most of the time, but I will say there are good companies. And I've only just learned that, like, through working for Smosh, honestly, truly 100%. Like, you see the way a company should work. You see the way communication should happen. And you're like, well, shit, dude, we could have been doing this the whole time.
There's really no excuse. A couple friends of mine did it. They started a YouTube channel a couple years ago and it hit big really quick. And now they have employees and they pay their assistant a full-time wage and healthcare. And they were telling us like, there's no excuse. It's easy. Like setting it up is a bitch, but like, the amount of money that comes into a YouTube company that's doing well, at the very least, there's no excuse for not treating your people ethically. So try your best to find a company that speaks and acts ethically towards its workers. And there are YouTube production studios that are content creator forward and content creator focused.
Which ones are those?
Well,
I mean, I was happy with the work I did for Skybound.
Skybound was cool. Yeah.
Skybound is good to work for. It's not like a place to like to garner your creativity because it's like, it's focused on a goal, but it's humane. It's a good
And I think that was sorry. Oh
no, please.
Just like a lesson for me too is just like, don't sell your darlings maybe right off the bat. And that's why when we all did some videos for Skybound, it kind of felt good to be given those parameters and like know exactly what you were getting into, was making like some fun fan content and stuff.
Yeah.
Wait, you all did.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like everywhere I go, I'm like, could you just make a little video for me?
Thanks for keeping us all employed.
For context, I was a producer at Skybound and I hired all of them to make shit for me.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
and then you can't.
I'm so grateful for Rachel.
Yeah.
Rachel's my coolest friend, you guys.
Oh God.
Megan, how did your relationship with Snarled end?
Let's see. I mean, basically, like,
you did a lot of different kinds of jobs.
Oh man, I was the most, I think you could say, like, all over the place. Oh, that's a big comment.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know it would take up that much space.
But yeah, it was at the time I had switched to Monster Brain, which was my most challenging endeavor and the one that was the hardest, just because like the time it took, the way that I was kind of rushed into
so much pressure on yourself to make like top-notch content too.
Yeah,
all of us were like, Megan, you can sleep.
Know. But I, it's just like I didn't feel good about making it not, because it was like art therapy focused. So I felt like it really deserved the time and attention. However, it was not sustainable for a weekly show.
No.
Yeah.
And I made like 13 or so. So not as many as I did of Make Up Your Mood, but it was hard. And at that time I was salary. And so we were still trying to figure out, like what, we were doing salary, people were doing a live show, and then churning out a video, and then also just other stuff. But it was too much. So I was already feeling a little like burnt out. And then, I got a phone call that my last day would be Friday. And it was pretty immediate and without any warning. So it was like, kind of good timing that I wanted to kind of take a break anyway, but at the same time, devastating to lose something that I had like later found out that I had placed so much of my identity within, and it was just like a lesson to also that I needed to balance other things in my life, because I was staying up till 6 a.m, working from 6 a.m. the day before. Like I was working myself so hard to make that quality content, and does Megan look like Carly Rae Jepsen? Thank you.
Those are so distracting, Sapphire.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, they're not. I don't know. I appreciate it.
Feed my
I love the Emotion album by Carly Rae, so I appreciate that.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
continue.
I don't know. So that's how it ended for me.
Hey, someone says they loved your anxiety monster. Sorry, I have to.
Oh, thank you.
See, that one makes sense.
Sorry.
Representation of the monster.
Good.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Being an asshole.
Do you wanna go over some of the questions from my Instagram? Did we get any?
But Sapphire never got to say what happened with her.
Yeah, we got
Oh,
Sapphire thing.
That's a weird one.
Hers is the novel.
Y'all
Mine's
listen up now. You hear?
Different. The biggest difference is that mine was
Her show
my
is making money.
choice. Yeah, I remember that day. Like they just like emailed me and they're like, "Can you like come in?" And I was like, "Why?" And they didn't say. And then they came. They brought me in the office. I left right after that. Like I felt so uncomfortable because I was just like, "What?" I don't know. That was awful.
Puts you in an odd position.
It was really uncomfortable. And it like, I felt so weird and conflicted too, because it was like, well, on one hand, I'm grateful to still continue my thing. But on the other hand, like all of my friends are being treated so poorly. And like, I don't know if this is a place that, I should even be with anymore. Cause I feel like the thesis of like, the whole point of the channel was this like female empowerment. We're like women helping women, artist power, all this stuff. And it was like, that's not what it was anymore. So I was like, I don't know. I put in a month's notice after that because I was like, yeah, I'm just going to like peace out. Yeah, I've quit like twice and then come back because I'm an idiot. But like, yeah, and then I stuck around for another like 2 years before finally realizing like, okay, I don't own anything. None of us like owned any of our stuff. And I feel like
should be noted is normal,
yeah.
But the whole rights thing and like the crediting thing and the like producer credit, like that stuff is where it gets like, it gets a little jargony, but it also, that's where our contention lies. It's not when we say like, we didn't own anything, we don't mean like, I want my show back. We mean like, I would like to be credited and have.
And residuals.
And be paid for what you make on it. Yeah. So
that was to me, the biggest thing that was upsetting is that like, so usually it's normal to be like a work for hire for a company, but usually in those situations, it's the company who has the idea and then they hire people to execute that idea. But what was happening was that the people who were also coming up with the ideas and executing the ideas had no ownership of those things. So that's where it kind of was a little bit backwards. And that's
a good way to put it.
Yeah. And so like, obviously none of us knew that. Like, I don't know what owning stuff meant. Like at the time I was just like stoked to do the thing that like an idea that I've wanted to do for a while. And then, and I know like for a while, Beth, you were like encouraging me to like quit a lot sooner. You were like, no, like you can like be independent. And at the time I was like,
the show was Sapphire's show. Like it's not a Snarled show. It's a used show. Right. So why not take that someplace else and like keep the value for yourself?
But they already owned it. And
They
So that's
own.
Then what's she doing now, girl?
They own something.
Well, they don't
scary,
own-
but they don't own.
They don't own me.
And Stories with Sapphire is
Oh
pretty
yeah,
thriving.
this is my new thing.
Oh my God,
Is it? I don't
I
know.
love you.
Yeah, I'm wearing my. I gotta promote myself. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of it. So I quit in October. It was not an easy process because I definitely quit and then I left after more than a month because I stuck around. I might end up cutting this out, but I'll say it now. So like I had been working out a deal to stay if I got some ownership, and then that deal just like went to poop. So I was like, you know what? This isn't worth my time or my money. I was paying a lawyer to like negotiate this stuff. I wasted like thousands of dollars and got like nothing out of it. So I was like, this isn't worth it. Like, why am I fighting so hard to keep this thing and also like support this like company that like I don't even know if I want to be
It's just giving
part of anymore. Yeah. And so I was just like, you know what? It felt right. Now's the time. So anyways, yeah.
And
Please
so
no.
I feel like for clarity, it's like people should know like you no longer have any association with something scary.
Right. Yeah. Like the original plan was that I was going to like be behind the scenes or like come back every now and then, but then like that fell through because like they just weren't like working with me. So I was like, you know what? I want nothing to do with this. So it's like the Snarled as it is now, something scary as it is now, none of us are involved with it. We don't see any like residuals or like whatever. Like if you obviously, you know, you want to support the Snarl content as it is now, that's fine. It's just like, I feel like people, like someone even messaged me or not messaged me. They commented on my new YouTube channel and they were like, so do you still get residuals from like your show? And I was like,
Oh,
no one does. Yeah. So I feel like it's something worth mentioning. That,
Absolutely.
yeah. Yeah, totally.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Do you want to go to the questions from Instagram? There's some spicy boys in there.
The one that you texted us?
Yeah, let me pick them because you're not gonna pick the spicy ones.
I'm nervous.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, how about let's start with not a spicy thing. Let's start with
Let's ease into it.
Yeah. What is all of y'all's favorite episode that you filmed for Snarled?
Aw.
Mine is definitely my like Gym Brat pro wrestling episode, and I think a lot of people would be upset that it's not a dark 5. If I had to pick a dark 5, it would be the like eating animal meats because Courtney really got to shine that day. But yeah, the Gym Brat wrestling one is a dream. Was a dream. You know,
It was so good.
I'll always have that.
Halfway through Rad Arts, I burnt out and I was like, I don't want to, I'm sorry, Rad Portraits. Halfway through Rad Portraits, I burned out and I was like, I can't draw another dead person's face. It's just too sad. I'm stressed. What
They were
if
so
we
good,
just,
but so sad.
what if just for a week, let me try something weird and different, and I'll do something called Rad Art, where I just draw something and then talk about the drawing process. And so for like 3 weeks, I think one of them, I just drew whatever I wanted. The second one, I like made slime. Then I did the face paint, where the very shitty video of me trying to make a Boy Scout Day like banner on my face. And those videos are such chaotic energy and such a honest view into the mind of like what it feels like to make something from start to finish and be really, really open about the highs and the lows of making things from start to finish. And I love those videos. Ultimately, we went back to portraits because it's easy to execute on that. And it's very exhausting, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh,
those,
that's a good point.
yeah, those have been very, very, like so many different little Snarled things kind of pointed the compass for me. And those were huge compass pointers.
Yeah. That's a really good way to put it.
You did some weird shit.
Yeah, weird shit. Yeah, I feel like there's so many because I did so many things. I did like the make up your mood, death happens. Then we did like a mini series of like monsters for Halloween. Mm-hmm. And I got to shoot at the YouTube space for that one. Did a Pennywise transformation.
You did
that was cool.
Stuff. That was fun.
That was fun. And then Monster Brain after that, and then the live drawing. I don't know. So, I mean, I definitely enjoyed Make Up Your Mood the most because it was the most, like you said, just true to who I was. And when I watch those videos, I definitely I see myself as I am and as I truly am. It was just very me. And I got to, experience different characters of myself publicly. And that was fun. But, yeah, so I guess that's my answer. I was about to be like
all
my
of the
least
Make Up Your
favorite one. All of them were so fun, except for FOMO. That one got weird.
Which one was that?
I just didn't really like the look of it. It was I wrote I miss you on my forehead, and I just remember I actually was feeling like FOMO.
Oh, yeah.
I was really I got too.
There's a lot of FOMO in Snarled. Something that's kind of built in about that company, and none of us can understand really why, because it's not that we were expressing this to each other, but all of us felt like we weren't good enough in one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm in Montana, so that also, I was always desperate to get down to LA and see people in real life. But
that was so fun the first time you came down to LA and we shot.
I was going to mention that one. That one probably took me the longest to edit too. But Rachel and I did a Make Up Your Mood, and we transformed into plastic LA people, and it was.
I remember that
bodysuit. Yeah, that was quality.
Talk about FOMO. I'm sitting at home just being like, Rachel just went out on a convertible with Megan, and I want to be in a convertible with Rachel. Why didn't they ask me?
Yeah. There was so much shit. Rachel, I feel like you got to do the coolest shit because you were in the office.
Yeah.
Because we all work from home, and we're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, absolutely. At a certain point, I understood that I wasn't being compensated, and so I was just like, oh, every cool thing you want to do, I'm gonna do that.
Just do it. That makes sense. You're making it work for you.
Oh yes.
But.
Well, my favorite thing that I made at Snarled actually was something that happened pretty recently. Was I convinced them to give me money to hire people to make an animated short. Because I want to make animation. So I was like, all right. And that's my favorite thing that I've ever made there.
You know, it's funny. I was looking at the questions and we already answered all the tea.
Okay.
But can we go deeper?
It was about
rat the bag steep.
That tea's going to burn.
No. It's not going to burn. It's not going to burn. So somebody said, how do we keep, this is my favorite question from Vic Holland, who's been around for a very long time.
I remember Vic.
Yeah, he's been around for a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
How do we keep y'all from getting robbed of your own creations? That's on us, baby boo.
Yeah.
We gotta make sure that happens.
We stand.
I'm nothing.
Huh?
No. What? Sorry. I got...
You're nothing?
Yeah, lucky for me, I'm nothing.
What?
I have nothing. I have no commodity. I have nothing to sell anymore. I don't have plans. For people who are asking, I don't have plans to make any more YouTube videos.
And that's because you don't have editing experience? And
no, because I could probably work with a company, if because I was, after Snarled, I was doing Screen Junkie stuff, and then I did stuff on other channels, and I was host for a Lucha Underground after show, and I was very active on other channels and stuff. I just haven't been doing that as much lately anymore. I find that it gives me mad anxiety. But I like talking about things that I'm passionate about. Hopefully I have an opportunity to do that again one day, but I don't know if that's going to be making YouTube videos.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Just because that's what we did doesn't mean that defines you. And that's taken a long time for me to even come to terms with too, because it's when you have this peak or this, spike of success or whatever you think success is, then it's everything you do after that, you're comparing to that peak. Do
you remember when Shane Dawson did the video with Bunny? Oh no. Yeah. Graveyard Girl.
Graveyard Girl. Yeah.
Graveyard Girl, aka Bunny. And he goes to her house and they have this long conversation about her being I want it to be, was it 2014 or 2015 again? Because that was the peak of her YouTube success, and everything was on the ups, and it was like amazing and such a high, and everywhere she went, everybody knew her. And she's been since then trying to chase that high and trying to like achieve that specific success. And it's been really hard for her. And of course it's been hard for her. And I think, Megan, you're speaking to the same kind of sentiment where it's like, how do you return to this place that's already in the past versus trying to realize a future success and the difference that looks like?
Yeah. And also the time it takes to locate that future success. Like if it is different than YouTube, you're going to have to spend some time re-educating yourself and like practicing your craft that you actually, want to do moving forward.
Oh, yeah.
And that's hard though, when you've already created this persona. It's you, but you have a public persona now. So you want to let the people know who liked your shows. You're still here, but like you're not making the same stuff. And that hurts kind of. And it's confusing because you don't know, like, should I just keep doing that same thing because I felt validated from it, and then if you stay trying to get where you were, like you said, Beth, it's like, you're never going to get there again. You have to create a new definition of what your success is.
Totally. I'm also really interested in like that as content. That struggle becomes the thing that you talk about, because I think it's a lot more universal than any of us realize. It's a part of growing up because we are getting older. We are shifting decades into our lives. And when I was a kid, I was like, I'll be this. And then I became this. And now I'm like, wait, but there's like 60 years ahead of me for me to continue my career. And it's not going to look exactly like this for the rest of my life. So how do you deconstruct goals, reconstruct goals, redefine what happiness is, what you want? And then struggle with
like, change.
And struggle with the ancient ruins of what you've left behind and people still being interested in that.
Yeah.
Like that's interesting.
I think that's the hardest dichotomy is knowing that people like what you did and knowing that you were kind of good at it and being okay with not doing it again, even though there are people validating it. Like there's basically an angel on your shoulder, like you can do it. But then there's the adult on your other shoulder, like you don't want to, bitch. You don't want to.
Move on. Yeah.
Like, and I had such bad paranoia and anxiety because of YouTube. I actually did not like the attention very much. I got really, really bad stage fright. And while like talking to the fans at that meet and greet was such a highlight for me at VidCon, anytime I'm on a stage, my heart is like, I can hear it in my ears. It's just really bad for me. And the better you get at YouTube, the more like stages you have to be on.
Yeah.
So it just like, it's just not my bag, baby. And like, I realize like, it doesn't mean that you're not successful because you're not popular. And we live in Los Angeles, so we're surrounded by popular people. I'm literally working with some of the most popular people on the internet, and I haven't once had the urge to be like, can I hop in on that games video? Or like, can I, like there's just that for me, because I'm like, I can appreciate how hard they work and what they do and know that like I did that and it was dope. But now I kind of want to like think about what it would look like if people didn't think of me as a Satanist first. I'm like, almost but they let me please.
Yeah. I mean, I started doing like another show that's like pretty similar to what I was doing, but like in my opinion, very different. And like it makes me feel a lot of things when people say you should just like keep doing something scary, or like, you know what I mean? Like it feels like that's the only thing that I can do and the only thing people want from me.
And all that means is that that's what they've seen from you. Like, I went to a retreat real quick, and then I'll get out of here. I went to a retreat last November, and one of the things that was said that like haunts me to this day is that there are so many things that people want that we haven't made yet.
Because you don't know what you want until you see it, and you don't know, like, that's the beauty of art. And that's why there should be so much freedom and not this pressure to like create what, and when you're creating what people expect you to, then I feel like you're on the wrong path.
Why are you creating?
Yeah. See, that's the tricky thing about doing art for a living, because once the business side of it comes into play, like, just by definition, it is no longer truly art. Like, I feel like art is like pure, unfiltered, like just everything, not thinking about like who the audience is, like whatever. It's just like literally like purely like from whatever. But if you're doing it for a living, it's like, how do you balance that? I don't know. It gets real tough.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the difference of like, creating art for YouTube versus creating art in different avenues of.
Yeah.
Or what I've been trying to do is like creating art, and YouTube just happens to be a place where that lives sometimes.
You're doing that really well. And it feels very, very true to you, very honest, and that it's not going to burn you out.
Yeah,
you're doing exactly how you want to do it.
We'll see where that leads, because I don't have a business plan, right? I've got a general outline and I've got a good head on my shoulders. But as far as like what you're supposed to do for a YouTube channel, I'm not going to follow those guidelines. But oh boy, where was I going to go with that? Oh, when we all started with Snarled, the point was made that all of us were kind of making things that were true and interesting to ourselves, and then that got adopted into the shows that we made. Like Red Art was based on Blinktober, which was I draw and talk about the person I'm drawing. Megan came up with a bunch of different really excellent ideas that she executed a bunch of them on, and the first one she did, she loved because it was what she poured her whole heart into. I don't know where Something Scary came from. Was that
those stories from your family, right?
Yeah, like that was an idea I had been kicking around for years that I never actually like did until someone was like, "I'll give you money for it."
Yeah, but all of us were like pursuing and making capital A art, which then turned into a business, and so that will happen. Like, people want to monopolize artists all the time. Just keep being honest and making things that are true to yourself, even if that changes over time. I think that's okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I realize I'm coming from a privileged place saying that, because I can afford to pay rent, and not everybody can. So
that's
that asterisk next to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's also okay to not. It's also okay to be art adjacent.
Yes.
Like it's to know your like your place and to facilitate the people in your life. Like, I don't mean that in any sort of like spooky way, but it's just like I know I can talk about serial killers for literally days. And in that way, Dark 5 was wonderful. Dark 5 would not have been a show if there was not a company.
Yeah.
That's just it. But like, I found so much validation and confirmation through lifting y'all up and lifting other people up. And so I just continued to do that. And now, I get to still do that. And that's really fun. And it's fun to be around in a creative space. And if that ever makes you feel like lesser than because you're like not the person who can draw, because I can't do anything. So, it shouldn't.
Sorry that I just politely nodded. I was like, yes, this is like, how that's fun in the conversation. And it came off like, yeah, you're shit.
Yes, you're bad and you're right. But I did learn how to. Snarled is the best thing and the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Like, losing Snarled was the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And going through that and understanding what that meant for me, and like understanding how to use those lessons in business now, I will never stand for the same shit that I stood for. And I know my worth absolutely. I'll never temper my opinion because of somebody else. Has that affected me negatively? Once, but generally no. I feel like we learned really huge lessons from Snarled, from the ending of Snarled. If we just continued to do what we were doing and be in the place that we had been in, I don't know if I would have been healthy. Like, I don't think I would have been okay.
No. Yeah. And that's actually, I mean, that's been a lot of my time since the end of Snarled, spending my time balancing my life and realizing all these areas that I was neglecting and how over time that was going to ironically really mess up my mental health. And I was making a mental health show. It's like I wasn't addressing myself. I was more like, well, they need me. But it's like, no one needed me to suffer like that.
Yeah.
No.
And Rachel, you have lots of knowledge that helps me. I know that I send you questions all the time about like, the back end stuff that goes into all of this. And also, you've introduced me to new clients, and Freddie Prinze Jr.
Freddie Prinze Jr.
What?
Yeah,
That's one of my clients now. Thanks to Rachel.
Fred is a good friend of mine. He's a wrestle bud, and he needed somebody to cut his shit. And I was like, from Twitch, and I was like, I know somebody. I know the person.
That's cool.
Exactly. It's just like, it's so random and wonderful. And the only way that was ever going to happen was because Rachel is meeting people, being her lovely self,
Somebody said to me the other day, somebody said, and this will make y'all laugh because you know that I'm like insufferable. Somebody was like, they were drunk and they're like, I don't care what anybody says. Like, I think you're lovely. I was like,
wait, who is this?
I'm not gonna name names because she's also a Snarl girl. And I love her dearly, and she loves me, but she very much was like, "You're a monster," and I was like, "Girl, I know, baby, I know." I'm now a monster. I wasn't at Snarl, but I'm now a monster that you want in your corner.
That's wonderful.
Especially if somebody sends me some wonky contracts.
Yeah.
That's wild. I never told you this, Rachel, but there was a time where I was like, maybe Rachel isn't a real friend.
Oh,
like,
no, that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe this is like a business relationship that's benefiting her, but ultimately I'm not being treated to the same level of respect as I want to treat her with. And then I remember going to your birthday party and you were drunk and you were like, I went on this retreat. We all just sat in circles and we hummed. And I realized how valuable you are as a friend. And I'm so sorry if I've ever crossed any lines. And you gave me a hug and I was like, oh, damn, this girl's real now. And totally 180. Well, it wasn't 180, but
no,
it was
totally. I agree with you. And I do think that I've had to unlearn a lot of things from Snarled, from being a YouTuber. And that's not a Snarled thing, it's a YouTuber thing. That really messed with my head, especially since they were trying to make me like the brand ambassador.
Yeah.
So it was on me.
It changes the way that you like value the people around you.
It changes the way that you see yourself too, because I always thought I was a pariah. Like I thought that like I was a suit in the crowd. And so I distanced it's so much easier for me to distance myself from people at work. But I've learned that that's no way I want to be. There's still people that works for them, but like I've gotten a lot softer since Snarled. I no longer hate the world. I still don't trust the government. But
I mean, who should? So I mean, we sort of touched on it a tiny bit, but I feel like we can go around and talk about what we've learned and what we're excited about for the future. So another part of the reason why I quit Snarled when I did was because I wanted to start pitching TV shows, and I was worried that like under my contract somehow Snarled, this company would like own some of it. So I was like, you know what? Probably safer to just like leave and then make sure there's no like weird gray areas. So right now I'm working with this woman on a animated TV pitch. And so we're going to take it around when I finish it in like a couple of weeks. So I'm excited about that.
Cool.
Yay.
Oh,
yeah. And Stories with Sapphire.
Oh yeah. Right? And my new podcast. Yeah.
I'm an independent artist now. So I make artwork all by myself.
Wow.
I want to make it. Yeah. I drew that yesterday.
I don't get it.
You don't get my art? It's fine.
I don't get it.
I just don't get how. I don't understand.
I don't get how. Yeah.
I don't get how.
It's just.
But I mean, I look up to you by the amount of practicing, exactly.
Yeah,
that you do.
Tons of practice, because it's just anybody can draw it, you guys. It's a learned skill. You just got to learn it. But yeah, everybody learns a little bit different. But yeah, I'm focused entirely on becoming a purely independent artist. I have one client that I'm still doing work for who pays my bills, but that's only every once in a while. And otherwise, I am live streaming on Twitch 3 days a week. I hold a weekly art challenge for like the whole community on Fridays. So this week, if you want to work with a limited palette, you can submit your artwork on my Discord. And then we go over it on Fridays. I relaunched my YouTube channel, which took a big hit. What with? Hi.
I'm sorry, I food processed.
My husband just came in to show me that he food processed.
Oh, good job, Mike.
Yay!
Mike, everybody.
Starting his own YouTube channel. He's just food processing pickles. Yum. No, he's not. He should, but he's not.
What? What was that? What would that make?
Slices of pickles, I suppose. But yeah, I have a YouTube channel and I'm posting art content. I have an old YouTube channel which was just like whatever the fuck, and now I'm like, nah, dude, I'm an artist on the internet. I want to make you laugh and feel good, and so that's what that channel is all about. And Mike and I got married in March, a week before the world shut down for America. And then
I was supposed to be there.
I know.
It's okay.
The world ended.
Let me just make this about me. Sorry.
The world ended, Megan. You stayed home. You did the right thing.
You did the right thing.
Yeah. So what with COVID happened right after the wedding. And so like, I don't know if any of you in chat have gotten married, but it's fucking terrible. And it takes a long time and all of your stress. So I wasn't able to make anything before the wedding. And then I wasn't able to make anything after the wedding, what with the COVID depression stuff. But now I'm back. I'm making things. I have prints that I'm releasing, and May 1st, my online store is relaunching. So
yes,
we're 100% in. I was going to start doing conventions, but
we can't.
Yes.
Oh, and
awesome.
D&D, my podcast.
Oh,
Dinner
yeah.
and Dungeons and Dragons. If you're interested in listening to another jokey, fun podcast, it's me, James A. Janice, Chelsea Rebecca, Joel Arnold, Mike Sagan, my husband, and James Gressel. And
What
we do
a group.
comedy podcast.
So good.
Cool.
Are you Beth Saigon now?
No.
Okay.
Now I'm still Beth Radloff. I can't not be rad.
No.
Yeah, it
I
wouldn't feel
know.
right.
It wouldn't feel right.
I can't, lose
I
my
didn't change
weird
my
last
name
name
either.
Yeah.
Sapphire Dewberry. Ew.
Ew.
So it would be
I'm sorry.
so gross.
Bake me a pie, Mom.
Clean your asshole afterwards.
Blech.
Dewberry.
Oh,
It just doesn't work with my
Dewberry.
name. That's all.
yeah.
Yeah. It's not a bad name.
It's so sweet.
Who wants
Not
to go
bad.
next? What are you excited about?
So excited. I'll go. Do you want to go, Rachel?
I don't care. No,
That was
you
like
go
the
ahead.
least enthused. I'm so excited.
I'm
so excited.
very excited. Everything's really good. No, I'm like I said, I am the most balanced right now that I've ever been, and I'm very grateful for that. And sometimes, there are those moments of like, I wish that I was creating more. I wish that I was uploading to YouTube more, but then I check back in and I don't know if that's exactly what I want right now. And I'm working with a bunch of different clients. So I'm doing like freelancing full on and mostly motion graphics, animation stuff, and also designing an album cover for a musician that I followed, and she ended up liking my Make Up Your Mood stuff. And so
Wow,
she
so
flew,
cool.
There it is.
her name's Lydia Lovelace. And she's like kind of Americana punk country. And so that's very exciting. She flew to Missoula, and then I did a photo shoot with her. I did her makeup, and now I'm designing the album cover and branding it all.
I got to see it so far. It looks really good.
Thank you.
It's so beautiful.
Thank you. Still a work in progress, but almost there. But and that felt really nice. And Freddie Prinze Jr. stuff has been good. I do stuff for Hank still, and randomly like some things for Complexly, Hank's company, which back to our conversation about good companies is a through and through wonderful company. And other than that, I'm also working on kind of doing music videos for my boyfriend partner of almost 10 years. Boyfriend partner's new EP that he's working on and getting out there. So
cool.
Just a lot of fun projects that take a little bit longer than a week, and then just messing around on Instagram, pooping out random videos sometimes.
You know what though? No, like when you like things that take longer, like I feel like just like what do you call it? Like audiences and viewers, people who consume stuff in general have become so used to getting content frequently. So like when we don't produce frequently, we feel like we're falling behind. But like I personally, and I think you also feel the same, is that like I love it when I can spend a long time on something, make it good, throw it out, poop it out, and then be like, all right, I'm done, move on. Whereas like in this, like we're so used to things like coming so fast. And so like, I don't know, that's something that I personally like find annoying, where it's just like, I wish it didn't have to be this way, but like at the same time, that's how the game works right now. So I'm like, how do I?
It's hard to, figure out, but
yeah.
Rachel, I like work out sometimes. No, that was just a really important comment I have to tell you. I'm stronger now.
I mean,
yes.
That's cool.
Thanks.
I'm very awake.
Thank you so much.
Rachel, what are you excited for?
Well, nothing ever. But I spend my days, which makes me happy, doing Smosh things. So if you'd like to support me, support Smosh on. If you ever tweet at Smosh or see them on Instagram or any social media, that's just me in my bed. So it's just so funny. People are like, "I love you so much, Smosh," and I'm like, "Okay."
Love you too.
I love that.
Yeah, and we also have a phone number, and sometimes I'll just text people and be like, "What's up?" And they'll be like, "Oh my god, it's Smosh!"
Wait, what?
Yeah,
you're bed texting.
Yeah, just 14-year-olds. Like, "What's up, Mariah? How's Wisconsin?"
I love it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And also I'm doing the paranormal caught on camera thing with Sapphire. So
shit, yeah.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and
they're on TV, you guys.
Yeah, we're on the Scrabble channel, baby. So that kind of itches that scratches that itch. Yeah.
Yeah. Yay! Did we all go?
Yeah.
Yeah, we all went. Okay, cool. All right. So, I mean, we pretty much covered all of the stuff that we wanted to. So I feel like we can open it up to more of the questions in Rachel's Instagram or throw some questions out in the chat before. Beth, do you still need to leave it like when you need to leave?
That's fine.
Woo! All right. We're saying just kidding.
I'm going to take a 5-minute intermission because I got to call my mom back.
Do any of you still have dream projects you'd like to pursue either alone or with a collaboration? I mean, yeah. Do. I feel like we all do.
Mm-hmm.
You have to.
You have to keep the dream going, man.
Yeah.
I've been really bad about saying out loud and like really nailing down those dreams. I just watched Parasite, and one of the lines from Parasite is like, I don't have plans because if I have a plan and it fails, then that means I have failed. And I was like,
too real.
But really, and there is something about keeping it private, I guess, for a while that is okay.
I don't think that's good for me though. Just for, because I grew up being like, I'm going to move to Los Angeles and work in the advertising industry. And then it happened. And then I was like, okay, what's next? Fuck. And so now I'm trying to do that. So like, so I have goals.
Yeah, we got goals.
Yeah. I think, you know what? I feel like, I think it's okay. See, the problem is that I think people think that like, if you set out a goal and then you don't achieve it, then you have failed. Or if you like change your mind about it, you have failed. And I think that like, life changes so fast all the time. We can't expect to be the same person we were like a couple months later or a year later. So like we should be like easier on ourselves and be like, look, like right now, this is what I want to do. Maybe I'll change my mind later. I don't know. Like I've changed my mind about a million things like a million times. But like it took a while to like get over the feeling of like, does that mean that I have failed at that thing? No, it just means that no longer is the thing that I want to be pursuing. And it's, why would I waste my time anymore?
And you
like lost.
Yeah. And you adapt to it. I think there's something to say about just being open to the change, because like if you're too rigid in like what you want to do, then you're going to miss a bunch of opportunities, you know, that will lead you actually maybe to get that goal accomplished. But I feel like, I don't know, I just try and like go with my gut, and then it's like I stumble into things that because I've been going with that gut, it's like I feel like I'm still on the right path, you know, and I can't fully predict where that's going to go, you know, because that's thinking like I'm God.
Right. Yeah. Adaptability is the key. I'm so sorry. I want to share my friend Kevin's comment because it's a good one.
It's a good one.
Because he moved to LA from, oh my God, where are you from? Delaware, to work in animation. And yeah. And I remember that there, for a point in time, Kevin, you were like really frustrated with animation because you were like, I don't know if this is what I want to do. But now you're a character design supervisor on like an upcoming primetime fucking show. So I'm really glad. I'm so proud of this dude, because he almost gave up on animation completely because it was just like he was having like, sorry Kevin, I'm saying all this stuff, but no, like you had like a hard time. I was there like when it happened, and like, you know, you were really close to just like, you know, trying to find something new to do, but then you were like, you kind of pivoted to something a little bit different, like character design, which is what you're really fucking good at. So yeah, I'm proud of you. Anyways, that's all.
Nice job, Kevin.
Wait, how do I? Okay. Beth, I just noticed that you were buried under the comment. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, Wilsoning.
Yeah, Rachel and I were doing a thing.
Yeah. Oh shit, she's calling me back.
Any good book, TV, movie, or music recommendations? Asks Eileen Gary.
Have you ever heard of Harry Potter?
Let me tell you about the Bible.
Go ahead with a real recommendation, Beth.
Second time someone said that to me today. Let me tell you about the Bible.
Oh, wait, for real?
Video chat with a couple of my old improv buddies, and the same thing happens. Like, you reading anything? And my buddy's like, let me tell you about the Bible, because he's literally studying that in school right now. Anyway,
studying the Bible? Is he? Priest?
I don't know what he's doing. He's basically a spiritualist for people who don't want to be associated with the religion. There's not a word for it quite yet.
Humanist.
A humanist? I don't think that he would call himself a humanist. I think he would call himself a shaman, but that's loaded. So,
that's something that actually. Sorry, real quick tangent. I'm learning about shamanism.
Yeah, I think you guys would get along.
Yeah, hook it up.
Yeah, all right.
I'll talk to him.
Hell yeah, dude.
Cool.
Luciana earlier asked any recommendations for somebody that doesn't know what to do with life, and I read that and I thought for a moment. And I thought about a book that I would recommend, and then you asked to recommend some books. So, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert.
Great book.
I don't know if you've read Big Magic.
Good.
It's so good.
Yes.
The audiobook is really excellent. The book really excellent. I've purchased it 3 times because that's who I am. But in it, a big point that she makes near to the end of the book is about how she doesn't encourage you to chase your passions, because passions burn out. Passions can leave you feeling very drained. A lot of the stuff that we've been talking about with what happened with Snarled is kind of a reflection of this. When you find something that you really love and you do it constantly, it gets tiring. So instead, she encourages you to pursue your curiosities. What piques your interest? What's like tickling their backbone a little bit? And go down that path. So when you're feeling lost, what are you curious about? Pursue that curiosity.
I love
and see where it takes you.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you recommended that book, because like it truly changed, not to be dramatic, but like it kind of changed my life, because I was like, wow, that's like it's different. You know, I always think like, yeah, I'm just like following my passion, but it's like, oh, that's why I'm so burnt out and hate the things that I love at some point.
You're doing it right.
I'm going to be streaming, yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
Rachel has mom. How's old Vicky? Wow.
Thanks, Mike. I know.
Look at you.
Oh my God.
Say, I'm getting hungry too.
Look at that.
What is this?
Wait, what is it? I can't tell. Like, what is it?
Oh, it's white rice, swordfish cooked with lemon and pepper, steamed broccoli, and then I believe this is zucchini, carrot, and
God
Wow.
bless.
zucchini and
you.
carrot.
Wait, I want to see if my husband
Michael.
made anything.
Let me see if my lizard got anything for me.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh, my dogs are
Is it
trying to
good?
get it out. I mean, that's kind of, I don't know. People aren't sending in questions, so.
I mean, they talked at length, and I think it was very cathartic to have done this because we were never really
Yes.
allowed to talk about it.
Yeah,
That was the other.
Really
Yeah.
spoken out loud so much as it was insinuated that we're not going to discuss what happened with Snarled. But none of us are associated any longer. I don't think that there will ever be a future association with that company, and the four of us at least. But know that we're friends and we're close and we're supportive of each other's creative endeavors and might appear in each other's creative endeavors here and there. And that's pretty cool.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
I love you guys.
Love you guys too.
Oh, I love you guys. Yeah, I'm really
Very grateful for all these relationships right here.
cool. Well, any last words before we wrap it up?
No, I'm very grateful for
real-
this. Thank you.
Real quick, we could shout out our socials or like whatever if people aren't already following us. I don't know. I feel like everyone might be already. No,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm posting this on like my YouTube, so just like just say your piece.
But yeah, BethBeRad.com.
Nice.
That's everywhere. Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. TikTok, maybe now. I think I might be doing it.
Nice.
I just started it
on
too.
TikTok.
Oh, I love TikTok.
It's cool. I
So
like
good.
TikTok a lot too.
Stop.
It's
I'm
redefining
Megan.
what comedy is to me.
Megan 10 yes is mine across all of it.
Yeah.
Or my name is my website.com.
My name is my website.com. Rachel, what is your stuff?
My name is
It's my website.com.
website.com.
That's what it's
Got
it.
I'm Rachel Sam Evans or Rachel Sam Vans. I guess it just depends on how your brain works. On all things.
Cool.
All things.
I am at Awkward Sapphire on Twitter and Instagram, and then YouTube and Twitch is Sapphire Sandalo.
It was like, what happened to Snarl? Just be like, check out
Yes.
this live stream.
No, for real though, this is now like whenever anyone asks, what happened to Snarled? Why aren't you
Link
like
them
doing
this.
something scary? I'm just gonna send a link to this video so I don't have to freaking answer it again.
All right.
Bye everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.
I love
Bye,
you.
everybody.
We love you.
Okay, bye.
Okay, end broadcast.
Oh, she left.